I do like to start their day with Brazilian music, though.
Oh, that's fun.
I wake them up with the Brazilian music.
We have dance parties every single night. Yeah. And they love to listen. It's really funny right now. They're really into Paso Doble, which is like really, really funny.
Yeah, we have like a weird mi gente fascination happening in my group. Literally at any hour of any day, you will come in my house and there will only be like Enrique Iglesias.
That's the one thing that I'm like, this has to change. It's the dance, because I'm Brazilian.
I was going to say.
And when I see some of the, like, I mean, it's so, I'm like, we got it. Hips, come on. Like, we've been working on this thing with them. I was like, can't.
You should create like a kids dance class.
I know,
Kids
right?
Zumba class.
Kids Zumba, yeah, you know.
No kidding. No kidding.
Being a mom is the toughest job there is, and it doesn't come with instructions. So it's okay if you don't have all the answers. We'll figure it out together. This is Mom Brain with Hilaria Baldwin and Daphne Oz.
Hi guys, I'm Camilla Alves McConaughey. I am from Brazil, born and raised. I am a mother of three. I should say I'm a wife first, a mother of three. A businesswoman in the sense of the craziness that can be. And I lay my heart on doing the right things in the best way possible, and with always an adventurous spirit.
Camilla is sitting here. It is the dead of January in New York City. Miserable, cold,
It was
gray
8
New York City.
degrees yesterday.
In pure white, like literally head to toe, crystal clear, beautiful white. How are you so clean?
I've been practiced for a while. I made a promise last year, and for that promise, I gave out colors. So my main outfit has to be white. It has to be something white within the outfit. And I thought it was going to be easier, and it's not really.
Wait, why did you give up colors?
Because it's something that I love. I love very much, and I made a promise. I don't know if you guys, it's kind of like in Brazil, it's very normal to do that. If you want to achieve something, or you know, you have a goal or something, you make a promise to God or whatever you believe in, and you give out something. It's like Lent. You give out something for a certain amount of time until you reach that, you know, where you promise for you go. So it's my kids keep asking me, when is it going to be over? Oh no. It was a big ask. It was a big promise. So we'll see. But I'm having fun doing it.
No, well, it looks good.
It does look good.
It looks really good. Okay, so we were talking before we started recording. We were talking about baby food. Now, you have 3 children?
3, yes.
You have 3 children. I have 4 children. So we all have a lot of children. And beginning to eat and nutrition is really, really important. My youngest, Romeo, is 8 months now, and he just started eating. And I'm somebody who I'll cook for him at home and stuff like that. And both of you guys are very involved in making baby food. So talk to me about it.
Yes, I mean, you have a Pure Spoon.
Right.
So
a company that I work with, Pure Spoon, is a fresh organic baby food delivery service. Yummy Spoonfuls, which Camilla, you started this company. I feel like
my partner Agatha started about 10 years ago, and then we met a few years ago and kind of came together and took it to the next level. Yes, and made it available for, we're available at Walmart now.
Amazing.
In over 1,500 stores. But we start where you stop. So basically at 1 year old and plus.
Which is a really hard age group to tackle for prepared foods. And yours are frozen, organic, pre-made food.
Frozen, organic, and no preservatives, no additives. So if you think of, the meal that you would cook at home, basically we're making it for you, and then we freeze it and sell it in the stores for you. So we make sure everything, it's really, really pure. It tastes good. And we have a combination of just, bowls and bites. So the bites are like, it will be like the better for you, like chicken nuggets. It will be like chicken broccoli bites or something like that. And when you read the ingredient panel, everything that's in there, you would have in your kitchen. So that was really, really important for Agatha and I to make sure that, we're giving the most nutritious, practical and healthiest, like clean form of food. Because you're right, when you get to the stage, you have the baby, you're at home, you know what I mean? You have that little time that you can make food at home. And then once they get into toddler stage, you're back at work, life gets on the way, you have all the other kids. You know, you start getting into this world of chicken nuggets and mac and cheese and hot dogs and those things. And that's really, really not the nutrition that your kids need in that stage. Between age 1 and 4, it's really fundamental of what they need in terms of nutrition. And if you really establish, you know, a healthy habit during that time, they most likely are going to be adults that will have healthy habits.
What I love about, it's interesting, part of what I wanted to do with Pure Spoon and creating a line of really like back to basics, the way your grandmother and mother made the recipes. Again, everything you do in your own kitchen in terms of buying fresh produce, peeling, pureeing, steaming, etc. A very simple process. It's not hard, but it is repetitive and it does take time. And it's time that even though you might have more of it then, it's you know, it just like time gets away from you. It's busy when they're little babies. They need a lot from you. So I thought that, you know, getting to babies at that age with really a diverse flavor panel, but something that they really are going to love and resonate with, that's how you start to create adventurous eaters. But once they get to toddlers,
You
that's
lose
when
all the work
lose
you
all
did.
right, unless you really put the time
really
in.
do.
Right, and you have to make sure that the meals that they're getting are, like you said, really nutritious and fueling their development. But delicious to the point where they're not going to reject them. And that's how you keep building on that adventure. And people ask all the time, I'm sure for you too, how do you deal with picky eaters? How do you work around that? What do you do to make sure your kids are getting, you know, healthy vegetables, especially because most kids will play around with fruit.
Yeah.
Although Philomena, my oldest now, like decided that she hates fruit. But how do you,
Carmen too.
it's weird.
No, it's so weird.
How do you hate fruit? It's nature's candy.
Yeah.
I don't understand. So I love that you're making it easy on mom and that you're keeping it simple for the kids too, where it's like, I'm a big fan of, you know, you could say sneaking, but just adding healthy things to things I know they're going to love. I know my kids are going to love their mac and cheese. So I'll put pureed butternut squash in, or pureed cauliflower, pureed parsnips, or like a combo of the above. Or I'll put chopped broccoli in with the chicken to make little patties.
Exactly.
So I think that's brilliant that you guys are making
and
that
that's
easy
exactly
for mom.
what we're doing, and we're making very accessible. You know, the goal was not to make something that was just for people that could really afford this. The goal was to really, hey, healthy food, better for you food for kids should be available for the most amount of parents as possible. So that's why we are at Walmart, and it's there. It's there. So everybody should go
Yummy
check it out.
Spoonfuls.
Yummy Spoonfuls in the freezer aisle. Yes.
Do you have picky eaters at home?
My youngest is the pickiest so
How
far.
old?
He's 6. He just turned 6. So I have a 6, a 9, and a 10. My 10-year-old was like the dream child. Like he would just eat everything and anything. It's the child that, you know, he's cooking by himself. He comes in, makes all his smoothies, he's like, don't have to worry a bit. If anything, I have to be like, you know, I have a little bit of this. It's okay. You know what I mean? But my middle child, she's just now getting more adventures. She had a thing with textures. So we had to really work on that. When she was little, she would go through stages where she's like, I'm not eating this food in the dinner. Like, you know, and we'll be like, okay, then what are you going to eat? You know, she would just be like, I'm not eating, you know.
And how
that
did
kind
you
of thing.
deal with that?
Different ways, you know, every day was a different challenge to try to get around it. But I remember this one time, I think the thing that really broke her was to not do that anymore was that one night. I remember was sitting there. We were kind of like out of, you know, we had already talked to her. We tried those different ways. So I finally just went, you know what? You're not going to bed until you eat your dinner. And that's just period. And she didn't really believe us. So we all just finished our dinner and we left. And I told her, I said, you don't have to eat the whole plate. I'm not forcing you to eat this whole thing. But this is good food. We all ate it. It's nothing wrong with this food. And you're going to have at least a little bit of each thing in your plate. And that's it. You know, it wasn't like I was serving her, you know, slimy okra or anything like that. You know what I mean? It was just regular food. So we went to bed, turned all the lights off, left a little light for her in the kitchen and said, good night, we're going to bed. And I think that impression, and it took her a long time to get back up, but I think that impression of like, oh, I can't get away with it, like really kind of, the next day she was just knocked. She wasn't complaining about it. She was trying things. So that kind of broke her a little bit.
That's so interesting.
Yeah. And then my youngest went to a stage where, again, you know, talking about the baby, when he was a baby, he would eat everything. He was a big baby and he would just eat everything, anything you put in front of him. And then when he got to the toddler stage, he went to a stage where he just wanted to eat beans, black beans. That's the only thing he wanted to eat.
Fiber, protein.
It's not bad, but it's,
But
like,
it's one thing.
It's one thing. So I'm like, call him the pediatrician, because, I mean, I'm worried. This is all he eats, but it's just like, it's fine. It's going to be fine, whatever, because we had the good foundation. But with him, what we did was, every meal, I would still put the vegetables in the plate. And we would talk about it in a fun way. We wouldn't make a big deal about it, but we just make it in a fun way. And then talk about it again. Hey, you have to at least try one. Take a bite of one. And if you don't like it, you don't have to eat it all the way, but take a bite of one. And then eventually I remember that they were sitting at the dinner, and he reached out to the bell pepper and just kind of took a bite. And we're like, don't say anything. Like,
Don't breathe,
Don't acknowledge. Don't acknowledge.
Look.
Yeah.
And he took a bite, and he's like, oh, you can see his little face going, I like this. And he took another one, and he ate it. Now he eats just fine.
We have that rule where, like for Philomena, who's almost 5, the big girls try everything once. And to your point, I always put the healthy things on their plates, on the table, so that it's not surprising to them. It's not off-putting to them. They see what John and I eat. They see what our family eats and how much food is a big part of that communal experience. I think that's probably for your daughter, too. Part of it was like, wait, hang on, everyone left and I'm here by myself. What am I resisting? Because I think something my grandmother said to me that has always stuck with me is, don't make your kids resist you more than the food. So when you make it a battle of wills, and these are kids when they're coming into their ego, they're coming into their I'm resisting, I'm asserting myself. This is my choice and my body and my you don't want to put your two egos at war. You want to have them actually see that the food is a pleasure thing and that it's a fun thing that they get. It's a privilege. And the trying everything once has really been helpful, because she feels proud of herself when she does. She tries the cauliflower, she tries the bean dip, or she tries the bell pepper or whatever. And she's like, see, I tried it once. Even if she doesn't like it, she feels proud of having tried it. And it's actually helped us a lot work through some of these different, sensitivities.
We do a little competition within the kids. Because, we have
a
3. So we do so it's like, and now they kind of help each other out. Now they're going, well, you haven't tried it yet. Like, now you have to do it. You know what I mean? They're like, who's going to do first? And so we do a little game out of it. But trying trying one bite, at least one bite of everything.
I'm gonna have to work on that, because my second child, so my first son, he's so picky. And he's so stubborn, and no matter what I do, and I think I'm pretty fun. Like, we're having like dance parties, and I'll be like really goofy, and I'll stand on my head, and I'll do like so many different things. But he's just like, nope, I will not do that. He'll run away, he'll close his mouth, he'll cry, he'll do everything, and no matter what I say, he won't do it. And I went and I talked to the pediatrician, and I was so worried about him because he's also really skinny. And she said, well, what's he eating? And I'm like, well, he eats, oatmeal and tofu and green smoothie. And she's like, stop. Just stop. Good. Just like, don't make a big deal about it. He's going to grow out of it. Continue to offer, she said to me. Just continue to offer. Don't make a big deal about it. But I do think at some point, what you're saying is like, you just have to be like, this is the way that it's going to be. You have to try it. And because I do think that some of us can fall into the trap of offering too many things or being too kind about it, and then they just stay in that comfort zone of not knowing. And it's exactly what you said. It's good food. It tastes good. It's not like we're giving them something that's like really gross. It's delicious food. And it's just this stubbornness or fear or texture maybe that they're just nervous to try something new.
It is. And I think in a way too, a little bit of society that we're in plays a part on that too, because like we travel a lot. And part of me doing that with my kids too is because we go to so many other places around the world and places that don't have as much as we have here, and we get to see. And that's not even a conversation.
Right.
What's in the plate is what you eat.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not a thing. Oh, I don't like this. Take that out. Take that. It's not a talk.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's a little bit of also making our kids resilient of, I get it. If we all had to throw up vegetables. We all had stuff that we don't like. But if it's just the basic things, that shouldn't be there.
Right.
Where's been the toughest place to be with the kids, or the place that was the most different from being at home?
I think Thailand. Yeah, we went over there. We were there for 3 months, I think.
Wow.
Something like that. And we, everything's so different. I mean, the language, the colors, the culture, everything is very, very different. You know what I mean? And that's a place that you go, okay, yes, you don't have to eat this, you don't have to eat that, because you know what I mean, so far off of the spices and all the stuff they put in. But they got into it, but it was definitely like one of those adventures where everything was just so different than home. It was really nothing that was like, oh yeah, that feels
familiar,
like home,
yeah.
And so what we did is we really emerged into the culture. So we did a lot of adventures. That trip was fantastic. We went everywhere. We saw so many things. I ended up putting them on a plane and taking a trip to Cambodia for 2 nights with just me and the kids and show other people. And we just went and explore, the temples and all that stuff. I mean, it's just, you see the pictures of the trees on top of the temples and all of it. It's amazing. Went down the river where people live in the river, actually. These floating homes and floating farms and all this stuff. So we really, really merged in the culture. My son was like, we went to so many Buddhist temples and learned so much about that. My son ended up wanting to shave his head and wearing Thai clothes the whole trip.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's the cutest thing.
Were you guys there working?
Yeah. Yes,
now, that's something that Alec and I talk about a lot, and it's something that I've seen him struggle with in terms of, now that our oldest is 5 and our youngest is 8 months old, just in terms of the kinds of jobs that he will take, sort of where he thinks his career is going, what kind of school our philosophy is. Like, do you pack them up? Do you homeschool them? Do we say, okay, no, he's gonna find a job on TV and stay here? Because we're a very close-knit family. Like, we're always together.
Yeah.
So he really struggles. I see him say no to jobs all the time that is saying that he's gonna go away for 3 months. What would your advice be to us in terms of that? Because I've talked to some people who say, homeschool, it's great. When we're talking about the Mona Lisa, we are in front of the Mona Lisa and they get to experience that, and their parents are who their parents are, and this is just part of their reality. Or is it better to create more of a typical childhood and have them have that structure?
Well, let me start by saying that I'm no expert, right? Because I'm also just trying,
Yeah.
as we all do as parents, to do our best. But I do believe that you have to create the environment that's going to be best for your family and for your child. So whatever that is. So in my case, for me, it was like, okay, so we had always done that. So when Matthew goes to work, I've always gone with him. We've done that since we first started, since we first started. So we've never really had been apart from each other in that sense. Then when we started having kids, the babies, we did the same thing. Mm-hmm. When they started getting older and we got to school, everybody, all of our friends that, done the stuff, they're all like, oh, you're going to have to stop. You're not going to be able to do it. And I was like, well, I'll find a solution, because I knew that was important for our unit as a family, because
that's how
as
we
your
feel.
Family, as you're saying, our family is very close as well. And I knew that having my husband being away for 3 months and me and the kids, and it's just, I have friends that do it and it worked beautiful for them, but for my personality, my kids' personality, my husband's personality, just wouldn't work. Mm-hmm. So I found a school, and I also knew that homeschool was not going to be good for my kids.
Right.
I just knew that for their personalities as well. So I had to be creative. I think being creative and thinking outside the box. A lot of times we stay in this little, package. Okay, it's got to be this or it's got to be that. Mm-hmm. Well, why can't it be something in the middle? Why can't it be something out there? You know what I mean? So just thinking outside the box. So what I did was I found this amazing school that we love in Austin, Texas. Love this school. But it was more a traditional school, which again, it was important for me because our life is so not structured when we are on the road, that when we come home, to have that structure, have them learn that, was a big thing for me. So I found that school and I went to them and I said, listen, love what you guys are doing here. I want to be part of the school with the kids, but this is our life. It's what we do and it's not going to change, Right. So I was like, would you be open to working something with me where we can, have the kids here, but take the kids out? And at first they were like, we don't know what you're talking about. We have our reputation. We don't want to, things are doing great here. We don't want to mess things up. And I kept talking to them. And they finally came back and said, listen, if you're willing to not take the responsibility, but work with us and know that, we've never done this before. We don't know how it's going to be, or if it's going to work or not. But if you're willing to work with us together, then we're open to do so. And I was like, great. So like the first year or two, like I was the teacher, and that was a disaster because it was great when I didn't have anything else to do. I was like, yes, I was a really good teacher. I must say so. But if I had anything else to do, or, to work with my husband or my job, anything, things will fall into the cracks, and it wouldn't have a routine.
It's a lot
and all
of responsibility.
Of that. It was a lot. So then we're like, okay, and it was a lot of, the program was different. So we kind of, through the years, kind of carved the program, and now it's something that it's more independent. The kids can do on their own. They don't have to have a teacher teaching. It can just be somebody that is responsible to keep things in track. So I have the nanny help us, and God bless that, I found someone that used to be a teacher, so I actually stole her from one of the schools. But you don't even need that. The program is kind of self-sufficient. The kids can do it. It's hands-on. But you also it was really important for me to have the connection back to the classroom. So they Skype into the classroom, and they get to be part of the classes as well. And they ask questions, they answer questions. And then at the end, they have some time with their friends. So they get to
that's nice.
share what they're doing. So when they come back into school, it's kind of like they're right back where they left, Now, are they like the top of their class? No. Are they in the bottom? No. They're right in the middle, and some things are better than others, but they're doing really great at school. But the life experience that they're having,
right,
and the fact that they are together with their family,
right,
to me, that's kind of, the perfect balance.
Do something that makes me think about, so our oldest is going to be going into kindergarten next fall. And something we've been thinking about through the process of all these applications and just like thinking through her future and her education is we're planning for kids who are going to graduate in 2035, 2036. Yeah. You have no idea what the world is going to look like then. And it's actually, as I sit here and listen to you talk about the way your kids are going to have grown up and the resilience that they're going to have and the perspective they're going to have and the foundation in your family that they're going to have, there's actually, I would bet on those kids. I would bet on their ability to absorb or take on or adjust to whatever the future might present for them. Because I worry a lot about the fact that like in the past, the sort of prescribed things that you would do to be successful, like you go to school and you get A's, and then you go to college and you get A's, and then you get a job, whatever, that might not be the reality anymore in 20 years. So I think it's really interesting hearing, how this sort of upbringing is really going to help shape your kids and maybe prepare them maybe even better for that reality. But something else I really love is that, and this is something John and I talked a lot about before we had kids, was we wanted our children to be born and to come into our lives. And knowing that our relationship, our marriage, was really a critical feature of making sure that our family felt stable and happy. And I love that you and Matthew have figured out a way to support each other in your careers and to have the connection that you have as a couple really be the foundation of your family. And your kids, do they have a totally normal childhood? No. But they get a lot of benefits.
It depends what you call it normal.
But exactly, they get a lot. Their normal is what your family has created as normal.
Yeah. And it depends what you call normal these days. Like 2 points of what you're saying is that like for me, like a normal childhood would just be allow a kid to be a kid, right? Independently from where they are, what they're doing, just allowing a kid to be a kid, and going through the stages that they need to go. So that I always make sure that that's happening, no matter what, right? Like, no matter what, that's what we're doing, right? Now, I think too, as you bring it up in terms of the apps and all those things like that, I think another, if anybody that's listening, it's like, oh, okay, maybe I'll try something, whatever, we'll come up with a version that works for them. Just remember that the contact with humans, the interaction with being around other kids, the interaction of, again, like we do the FaceTiming, and, if we're going to a place that we are for a long time, I put them in school. So like we were just in London, and they went to proper British school for 2 months.
So fun.
You know what I mean? Like the
That's
suit, the whole thing. You know what I mean?
So
like
good.
They're like doing the scooters in the city, going to school. You know what I mean? So it's a combination, but making sure that that human connection is happening no matter what.
Yeah.
Because in the world today, you can get a little too caught up on the technology, and then forget about that other side, you know. And it's beautiful about the program that I started with the school is that now is a curriculum. So all their kids are using it.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So it's
Are
working.
they able to make friends very easily when they go, like when they went to British school for 2 months? Do they?
You know, a soccer ball is the best way you can get a kid. No matter where you go in the world, somebody will be playing soccer in the park. You know, it's a very international thing. And I'm from Brazil, so I grew up playing soccer. So they've been doing that since they were little. Yeah, they do. They do. It's, you know, and it's funny because sometimes we'll go back into places that we've been before, and then we get to see those friends again, you know, that they've made. So it kind of, we try to keep like some kind of connection with people.
Are your kids bilingual?
Not technically. My oldest can speak Portuguese better than the other two. My mom used to live with me. So for the longest time, it was just me and my mom. I didn't have any nannies, and, you know, it was just her and I. So we worked together. We used to have this handbag business. We did it for over 10 years. She's still doing it, actually. And it was just her and I. So we worked together, and then we took care of the kids together. We kind of did everything together. So when she was around living with us, like, you know, it was a lot of Portuguese back and forth. And then when she moved back to Brazil, I don't really have anybody in the house to speak Portuguese. So it's my fault because I've done a poor job on keeping that up. But I actually just went to Brazil. I just flew back from Brazil now. It was something I was reflecting on how much I have to really put the effort to make it better. Because, you know, we go to the farms. My dad is like a farmer and miner in Brazil. So it's like we go is deep inland.
If they don't speak Portuguese, there's no communication.
Nobody does. Like none of them do, you know? So we need to put more effort in that.
My kids are bilingual, but I've been noticing as they get older and they go to school in English that it gets to be really difficult. Yeah. And so, you know, no matter what, when I talk to them, I have to talk to them in Spanish. And a lot of times they respond to me in English now. They didn't used to, or
that's what they do to me too.
Yeah, and they understand absolutely every single thing that you're saying. So I just started Carmen, my oldest. I just started her in a bilingual program, so she goes to school 90% in Spanish.
That's really
which is
good.
Really great. No, I love this school. It's in Brooklyn. I love this school, and it's been really great because, you know, a lot of people will say, oh, once they want to be like their friends, and so they go to school and they're like, well, my friends speak English and I want to be like my friends, and so now I'm like, great, I will solve that problem. I'm going to make sure that all your friends speak Spanish.
Fine.
What else are you going to bring my way? Picky eating can't quite master that one, but I will make sure that you speak Spanish. We'll see. It's still a little bit of a challenge, but yeah, you just have to be like really firm.
And I have not been good at that. I need to get better at that. I start and then I lose, you know, like.
Well, it's hard because you naturally go to whatever language the person is speaking to you. So it's like, you know, I'll say to them something in Spanish, and then they respond to me in English, and then I say in Spanish, and then maybe I'll put a couple words in English, and then I find like 5 minutes later, I'm like, whoa, I'm speaking English to them now.
Well, it's also like working out, where it's like you'll be really good about it, and you'll be seeing results, and they'll be speaking more to you in Spanish or in Portuguese, and then all of a sudden you're like, you know, you're sick or you travel for a week or whatever, and then you forget about it, and then the muscles aren't there anymore, and then, you know, it's just way harder to get back into it.
Or what a lot of people do, and I don't know if you ever tried this with your kids, is I will say to them, I don't speak English.
I've tried that
I
before.
don't speak English. And then it's funny because they actually believe you for when they're like really little. When they're like 2 and 3 years old, they're like, oh, okay, you got to talk to your mommy in this way. And then they realize that that's just not true at all.
Yeah, your kids are more
like,
stubborn than you are now.
Exactly. I don't understand what you're saying. And they're like, Mommy, I just heard you talk with I remember when Carmen was like, I don't know, she started talking really early, but she was like maybe like a year and a half or two. And she said, Mommy, Daddy only speaks English. Was like this moment of like realizing like not all of the world speaks more than one language. So it's actually very helpful because we can always talk behind his.
I know, secret languages are so
or in front
nice.
of his back.
That's why I want to learn Serbian so that we have our little secret language.
All the time he's like, what did you guys say? I said, I love you so much, and I think that you are the best husband ever. And he's like, really? I'm like, absolutely.
I do like to start their day with Brazilian music, though.
Oh, that's fun.
I wake them up with the Brazilian music.
You have to have some of that. We have dance parties every single night, and they love to listen. It's really funny right now. They're really into Paso Doble, which is like really really funny.
Yeah, we have like a weird mi gente fascination happening in my group. I don't literally at any hour of any day you will come in my house and there will only be like Enrique Iglesias, like mi gente. My son
will have dance party.
I mean, it's so cute. He has this hilarious little like hip wiggle that he does. It's not from me. I don't know.
See, that's the one thing that I'm like, this has to change. It's the dance, because I'm Brazilian.
I was gonna say,
and when I see some of them, like, I mean, it's so. I'm like, we got hips. Come on, like we've been working on this thing with them. I was like, can't.
You should create like a kids dance class.
I know,
Kid
right?
Zumba
A
class.
kid Zumba, yeah, you know.
No kidding. No kidding.
gosh.
All right, mother of boys. Because you have one girl and two boys, correct?
Yes.
Okay. So my boys, I have 3 boys. One of them is really little, so he like doesn't really count yet. But if the other 2 just go at each other. Like, I mean, they're really close together, 14 months apart. So your daughter is in the middle?
Yes.
Okay, so you have a little bit more of a span between them. But there is a different energy, at least with my boys, that there's just an aggression that they have. And sometimes it's a loving aggression.
Yeah.
Like Rafa will come up to me and he just loves me so much that he just squeeze me or whacks me or something like that. And I'm like, Rafa, what are you doing? He's like, I love you so much, Mommy. But I'm
Such a
trying
passionate
to
Spaniard.
Very passionate. And I'm just trying to
Oh my
teach him to be soft and calm. How do you teach peace to your boys?
Good luck
Have you
with
figured
that.
it out?
Well, I'm sitting here thinking about both your husbands. I'm like, how do we teach our husbands to, and mine too? How do I teach him patience and calmness and then teach my boys this? You know?
Oh man, that's a tricky one. So for me, like my oldest, like he's very calm and sensitive and chill. Like he couldn't, I mean, I had to tell him like after like, you know what I mean? Like so many times, I'm like, you can fight back, but like, it's okay. Like you're not going to go hitting somebody, but if somebody's hurting you, you fight back. You don't just lay there and let them do it, you know? And he still can't really do it. Like he's just so like, he can't, you know, he's that kind of kid that he sees an animal. He's got this thing with animals. So like all the animals love him. He can, you know, catch lizards and snakes and stuff. And he just, the minute they get on his hand, they just get calm and they just stay. So he's got that. So he can't, you know, he can't hurt an ant. You know what I mean? So he's calm. But my youngest is completely the opposite. I mean, he is that child. I mean, I don't know where it came from, but he's got that, you know, like that energy on him. And he's always been like that since he's a baby. I remember, like, you know, if I was late to breastfeed him for like couple minutes, whatever.
Angry.
He would be like screaming like somebody just drop him. You know what I mean? And he's completely fine. He's just like, I want it now.
And then as soon as you nurse him, he's like done. It's like you're like turning a light off. It's
Yeah.
like,
No.
okay,
Oh,
good,
exactly.
good now,
That's the
great.
first thing I noticed the difference between my oldest is a girl, my second is a boy too. The needs were limited. I need to be fed, but it has to be exactly when I'm hungry.
Yeah.
I need to be put to sleep exactly when I'm tired. I need to have my diaper changed immediately. When,
Yeah.
you know. But I mean, very, very simple needs, but there was absolutely no
It's
patience.
very clear.
And there was no ramp up. It was 0 to 60,
Yes.
0 to 90.
That's exactly my
Yeah.
youngest. My youngest is like that. So I've been trying different things, you know, and anybody.
Do you meditate with them? What do you do to like
that's-
soothe them?
Yeah, I mean, I'm taking tips as well, guys. But, you know, I'll tell you the things that I tried. So I did try to do a little meditation. That only worked for a little bit. After a while, they're just done. But we're going to get back into it because, again, when things don't work, I like to give a little space and then get back into it because in my experience, I've learned that some things come back around and work really great. So we actually just had this conversation about the stretch and the meditation because we used to do, right when we wake up, a nice stretch. And we would get silly stretch too, you know, would be silly doing it. And then do a little meditation like before bed. So we actually just talked about it last week that we're going to start doing it again. So I tried that. It worked for a little bit. I tried getting a, you know, one of those boxing punching bags. And I have that hanging in the place that, just anytime that he gets like aggressive, I'm like, go punch that. You know what I mean? Like, go get it out.
That's what we do.
Out.
We do punching pillows.
I got one of those just because this was like mommy fail. So I got the one that goes on the ground that you have to put sand in. And I got the one on the thing. And I didn't realize when they hit it, mine are, again, little kids. He comes back and hits them in the face.
Right,
I quickly put it away. But I think my kids are maybe just a little bit too young for it. They were like, hit it and they were like, knock them over. Not good. Anyway, go ahead.
But one thing that really helped consistent is that once the little one was able to get into sports and some kind of like, we did jiu-jitsu. So some people do karate or, martial arts or something like that. I went into jiu-jitsu. And that really helped. I really saw a major difference, especially with the wrestling. So now a lot of times they do wrestling. So instead of hitting and biting, and I mean, he would literally grab, baseball bats and run after his brother. Like, I'm going to,
Sounds like Leo.
I'm like, this is
Leo.
crazy.
Like
what is going on? And you see in his face, he would look like, I'm going to beat you up. You know what I mean? Like, I was like a little bit scary. I was like, what's going on with this child? So, like doing that sport, like it really, really helped him. I saw a major difference. So I think doing some form of martial arts or jiu-jitsu, capoeira, whatever it is that you have accessible to you, to help them get that energy out and know how to channel that energy to where, okay, I have that energy. It's not, a lot of parents try to put it down. You can't put it down. If you have a child that has that energy, they have it. So it's more about guiding them on how to channel, how to use that energy in a better way.
I think you're 100% right. I went to talk to somebody recently about this because it's been so on my mind because of the same thing. I mean, my boys just like, they're like dogs. They just go at each other. Everything is totally fine. And all of a sudden they just like go at each other. And there's like hair pulling. Sometimes there's blood. I mean, like it's really, really, really bad sometimes. And then they're fine. Like nothing happened. They walk away and they like love each other and hug each other and kiss each other. And, some people will say, oh, boys will be boys, which I hate that thing. And then they'll also say, well, just boys there's an aggression that they have. And, the energy, there is a certain energy that I think that typical boy that we're talking about, I mean, for lack of saying it in a better way, nobody jump at me for saying it that way, but the more stereotypical boy, I should say, that it simply is energy. And if you give them an outlet for it, we've started swimming, you're talking about martial arts, which I've been trying to find a place nearby that does it for such little kids. I have yet to find that.
Jiu-jitsu usually do it younger than, that's what I found. Because I was looking at the other kinds and they were like, oh, you had to be a certain age.
Like five up. Yeah.
But the jiu-jitsu, I was able to find some places that did it earlier.
But even last night when they're like going at each other, I'll make them, because I'm a yoga teacher, I'll make them do yoga, and I'll just like out of desperation, I'll be like monkey pose, and it's not even something, and I'll just like raise a leg up or do something, and then all of a sudden they're like, okay, let's do that, and then I'm like, okay, warrior and cat pose, and we just like start doing, and it's just like a distraction
and a challenge. I think everyone gets frustrated. I think my experience with little boys is, sometimes it's harder for them to regulate. It's harder for them to deal with that frustration, to vocalize it or to channel it appropriately. And I think that's really fun. You make it a little bit of a competition, a little bit of a challenge, and a way for them to excel, get better and better each time they do that. I think that makes a lot of sense.
Distraction works really good.
Distraction's awesome.
It's
I'm
really
a big fan
good.
of distraction.
It's better to distract than try to argue, But I do think that one thing that is important too is also to take the time to explain to them, what that, and taking the time, with parenting, that is the hardest thing, to really taking the time constantly to make them understand, okay, if you do this, even like the other day, I told my two oldest, because they were doing something and they were doing good, but I wanted them to do great. And I kind of interrupted them and kind of showed them, and I could tell they got a little irritated. And I just said, just know that I'm doing that so you guys can do it great the next time you do it. And I explained to them why, and the light bulb in the head went, oh, okay. So then all of a sudden they're not annoyed with me anymore. When I do it, they're like, oh, thank you, Mama, because then I'm going to make this better and faster, and I'm going to have more time to play later, Right. So like they kind of understand. So when we're talking about hitting and the aggression, I think it's also important to make them, it doesn't matter how little they are, you start talking, because you'd be surprised what they take in, even as little, right? We all know that as parents, but really taking the time to make them understand what that means, what that causes to others. How would they feel if it was you? You know what I mean? And this and that. But also always end on a positive note. So like my little one, when he does that, I always make him go to his brother and give him a hug, give him a kiss, and look him in the eye and really apologize. Yeah. And in the beginning, he was just like, I don't like doing that. I don't want to do that. And the hug was like, just a touch an elbow, touch a shoulder, but like, no, like you have to do it right, kind of thing. And then now he like already knows and he does.
It also makes it okay in that regard. Like people make mistakes, they mess up, we forgive each other. Yeah. You can grow past this. Like there's something very again, just growth oriented and stabilizing. And I love that. And that, again, going back to, I think for all of us, family is the most important thing. It's where we pour all of our energy. And I think knowing that your unit is indestructible in that way, and, you keep the life alive. I want you to tell us a little bit about Women of Today, your website and lifestyle brand, and why you felt it was so important to put all this content together for women. Tell us about it.
Yeah, thank you for asking. Women of Today, it's like a passion of mine. It's that thing that, just talking about it, I'm like, I'd smile.
She's grinning ear to ear. So cute.
Yeah, just smile, you know what I mean? It makes me happy. I started, I'll give you a little bit of the backstory, but basically, I mentioned earlier that I had this handbag business with my mom. We sold at QVC. I used to be live on QVC, selling bags and doing all this stuff. And then when the third child came along, it became like very hard and complicated to do all these things. And the business changed and all of that. So I stepped away. And I had that moment of like, you know what? Like, I used to always see my girlfriends like, nails done, put together. And I'm always like the crazy person, running around. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to like take a moment and I'm just going to be at home. I'm just going to be at home and I'm not going to do anything work-wise for a minute, We've been blessed enough. We've worked hard enough and all of it. I'm just going to take a minute to do that. And what I learned is that that's not my nature. It's nothing wrong with being a stay-at-home mom. That's a really, really hard job. But my energy, I have too much energy in me. I have to get out in a certain way. Mm. And I was raised like, we start working so early. So it's all I know how to do with my extra energy. Maybe when I get older, I'll find a different way, you know what I mean? But smarter, I don't know. But it's just, I've just worked since so early in my life, since very, very young. Even like when we were in Brazil, like little ones on our vacation, like to earn our stuff, we used to have to work on the farm, So it's like, I became that person. So that, the crazy parents that you run away in the parking lot because they're so obsessed with everything is so important when it's not really. I kind of became that person. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. This is crazy. My husband's like, whoa, who is this person? And I was like, I need to do something to get, channel my energy, talking about channel energies, right? Yeah. And the one thing that I love to do, it's lifestyle things. I mean, I am the person that wakes up at 5 a.m. and go to the flower market with the wholesalers and buy the stuff and does all the flower arrangements and do it for my friends' parties, do all the kids' projects and activities and the cooking, So I do all of that. It is my nature. So I just started I took a moment to go, what does Camilla love to do? I had to have that timeout moment because I was doing, the handbag business. I kind of started more for my mom and my family, something I liked, but it wasn't really, what I had passion in my core. Mm-hmm. Then I was doing something else. All these other things that I was doing, it was more like things that either came along or it was for somebody else. And it wasn't really, what does Camilla love to do? And at that moment, I was like, I love doing that. Like, so I didn't have a book to sell. I didn't have a product to sell or anything like that. I just started doing it. And started going on shows and just sharing. Like, my main goal was, if I can make any woman's life easier with anything, I achieved my goal. Because it's hard enough being us. We got enough crap, excuse my English, in our plate. We got to deal with a lot. So if I can teach you how to fix your hair in a way that it's easy and simple and you walk out the door a little bit more confident, great. If I can teach you how to prep dinner in a way that you can handle it if you never cooked before, if you did, awesome. Whatever that is, you know what I mean? So I started doing those things and it was more, and naturally kind of, at first it wasn't much in cooking, but it kind of naturally just went that way. And then what I realized after a while is that it kind of grew into a thing, but it didn't have a home for it. And people were asking and asking. I was like, well, I don't know. And people were going like, what's your business plan? I was like, I don't have a business plan. I'm just doing this thing because I love doing it, So I created a home. So, it was Women of Today. That was the name from the beginning. It's been many years that we've been doing. And really the moment that I was like, okay, I have to do this is that I also realized that I travel all over the world and all over the country. And I'm from Brazil, and what I see in these other countries when I'm living in those places, because a lot of times, like I'll say Thailand, 3 months, 2 months here and there, when I see in those places is to have that, women have a community in a lot of other cultures that in America is not really there. So it's growing now, but when I first started, it didn't exist. You had your close friend that you talked to, your mom, but that was it. The conversation wasn't an open conversation about, hey, what do you know? How did you learn? How did you deal with that? It wasn't really open many years ago when I started this. So the whole purpose of the site was to not just share lifestyle things, but just to really create this community where we're learning from each other. So it's not about, hey, I'm Camilla and this is how you should do this. It's not that. It's more about, hey, I learned this. Somebody taught me this. It worked for me. What did you learn from somebody that you can share with us? And then we share back. You know what I mean?
This is exactly what we're doing here, too.
Exactly.
That's why Mom Brain felt important to us for exactly that reason, because there's the metaphorical village that everyone always talks about that I think in the rest of the world, in many places, still exists, that women are in a lot of what they're doing together. And they have each other to rely on and learn from and feel supported by and have fun with. Because, look, a lot of what we do can feel repetitive or exhausting, difficult. There are challenges, but there are millions of women who've done it before us and millions who will do it after us, and we can learn from each other. And that's I love that. That's exactly what we try to do here.
That's awesome. And then also creating experiences. That's another side of the site that I'm very passionate about it. I'm usually the kind of person, like if I can choose giving a gift, I'm usually going to try to give an experience instead of a gift, a thing, right? Because I think that experiences, you can't take that away, no matter what happens, right? So we try to do experiences. So we do a lot of giveaways. We do trips.
Wait, what's your favorite Hostess gift? Now I'm like very curious about your gifting strategy. This is awesome.
So my favorite Hostess gift, like if I'm going to somebody's home for the first time, Classy Azul tequila.
Oh, yum. That's the big, tall, white bottle with the blue thing.
Yes. So it's hand-painted. The bottle it's hand-painted. It's beautiful. It's got a great presentation, but also what's inside's amazing.
Yeah.
I love how quickly she said that. She just knew tequila. Immediately.
No,
she knows.
No, I have it my go-to. And then if you don't want to spend, it's not, it's a little expensive. So, but they have the smaller bottles that you can find, and those are cheaper. But yeah, that would be. And I found a place, like this website that does like a basket. So when it's like really special, then I make a basket with it. So.
I feel like a customized gift basket. Like I used to do that. I'm really big into vitamins and like products and healthy things and whatever. So I would do a whole thing of like vitamin D, and I would put some, Manuka honey lozenges in, and then I'd also put a chocolate bar and like my favorite candle or whatever. I would just do that. And I feel like, to your point, people want either an experience, like a muffin that they can have the next morning after everyone goes home, or something kind of fun and thoughtful that way, or a taste of you. And I feel like that the Clase Azul does both of that for you. And you feel like such an adventure bunny to me. I feel like your whole life has been this wonderful being willing to take risks and like run at future opportunity and just like be fearless. I mean, you moved to the States, you were a kid, it feels like, 18, 19.
I was 15.
15.
Wow.
I was 15. And I didn't speak a word of English when I moved here. A word. All I spoke was, hi, how are you? My name is Camilla. Sorry, I don't speak English. No, and I know how to say, how much is this?
Yeah, that's important.
Because I'll go to the store,
the
I'll be like, how much is this? I don't even think I knew how to say that.
But what is the next big adventure on your horizon?
Right now, we're working hard on Yummy Spoonfuls. We're doing some very exciting things there, because that's really important to us. And then focusing more on women of today. Like we hit a point now where it's like we did our first pop-up event. We're doing another one at the end of March and April, which you guys are welcome to come if you want to come to.
you.
If you want to come to Texas,
I do. Breakfast tacos, line them up.
Yes. So really focusing on that and growing the experience part of it, because I'm really like women are really asking and hungry for it. You'd be surprised how much the little things make a difference on them. So I'm like focusing on that. We have the Just Keep Living Foundation, which is Matthew and I's foundation. We've been doing for a very long time too. So that's growing. The next big thing we have a big event in Austin, Texas. We have concert. I put a fashion show together there for over 300 women. Monique Lullier is designer this year.
Oh my goodness.
And then I have a couple of things that are up my sleeve, but I'm a bit superstitious, so I don't like to talk about it.
I totally hear that.
I don't like talking about it it's a mix of superstition, but also like doing so many things I've done in my life where you're like, it's done, it's happening. You talk about it and it's like, no, never mind, it's not happening. So,
And where can we follow you and where can we find you?
okay, you find me at I am Camilla Alves or at Women of Today.